House Committee deliberations on the proposed 2.606 trillion peso national budget for next year resumed today. At the committee hearing, the Makabayan Coalition pushed for the repeal of a Marcos decree on automatic appropriations for death payments. Freddie Abando has the details.
Years of the Aquino administration, the country's debt stock has been steadily on the decline. Because of this, more resources have been allocated and utilized for key programs to sustain economic expansion and equalize its benefits for all, especially the marginalized sectors.
Proactive debt management coupled with revenue reform efforts has increased the manageability of our debt burden, as can be observed in the decreasing portion of revenue allocated to debt service. Likewise, the portion of the budget spent to pay interest has exhibited a downward trend, implying that more and more funds are being used for more productive expenditures. As of the end of 2013, the general government debt stood at 4.5 trillion or 39.2% of GDP, lower than the 40.6% ratio in 2012 and an improvement from the 44.3% in 2009. This continuing trend of decreasing general government debt to GDP ratio is aimed at ensuring sustained fiscal space throughout the medium term and more specifically attaining the goal of 30% by year 2016.
However, the Makabayan Coalition has renewed its campaign to repeal a presidential decree issued by the late President Marcos that all payments of debt, local and foreign, from principal to interest should be automatically appropriated yearly in the national budget. It also bars the reduction of the allocation proposed every year. They reiterated Congress has the sole power to determine how government spends the national budget. In the proposed 2015 national budget, interest payments will amount to 372.9 billion pesos, which is 14.3% of the national outlay.
Automatic appropriation has been a big issue against even the previous administrations, precisely because of the untransparency of not just the loan itself, but the repayment itself. Question: of the automatic appropriations approved by Congress, are all these paid to the creditors or there are some savings? Where do the savings go?
The proposal to repeal is not expected to fly in the House, although a resolution has been filed in the upper chamber by Senator Grace Poe to reveal the Marcos decree. House Committee Chairman on Appropriations, Congressman Isidro Ungab, said a repeal will send a wrong signal to creditors, which could stop the flow of aid and loans to sustain economic growth. For 2015, the government will borrow 700.8 billion pesos, 283 billion will plug the deficit, 390.4 billion to amortize the country's principal debt, 26.7 billion for the national government cash buffer account.
It's already there. Hindi na namin dinidebatehan yung portion na yon. Second, I tried to analyze kung bakit ganun yung reason nila. Ang i-advance na reason noon, which I think is still valid today, no international development organization or funding institution would risk lending to a sovereign or lending to a country na legislative ang mag-decide, no? In other words, they cannot leave the credit decisions to politicians.
For the People's Television Network, this is Freddie Abando reporting.